What's up, you filthy casuals? Welcome to the Casual Shenanigans Gaming Podcast, a podcast all about the irreverent love of gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremiah, and tonight I am joined by Dave.
Hey, guys.
And James.
What's up?
Joel is on his way to a board game convention. What was it? AwesomeCon? MomoCon? What
AwesomeCon.
AwesomeCon. He's taking the Nebula from hell, and if you want to meet up with him, go listen to last week's podcast where we told you how to do that. But he is there this weekend selling his board game, so go check it out if you're there. Although by the time
be sure to do like all kinds of personal contact with Joel. Like, he loves hugs. If you don't walk up behind him, like, surprise him, just pat him on the back and like rub just a bit. Like, he loves just personal touch and affection. Like, really get to know Joel if you meet him this weekend.
Yeah, he doesn't even believe in personal space, so just
get right in there.
I mean, that's what Joel would want, is for you to get right in there. Our major announcement this week is that episode 150, we have been announcing it as happening on June 16th, recorded live and then broadcast to everybody else on June 20th. But that is no longer the case. We have pushed episode 150 back to June 23rd for the live recording and June 27th for it going live on the channel. And the reason for that is E3 is coming up. We're really excited. We're expecting a lot of really cool announcements this year, and we want to talk about it. But if we do episode 150 in order, we'll do it on E3 week, and then it'll be another week before we can talk about E3 in depth, and then it'll be like 5 days after that before most people see it on the channel. So it just feels like it'll be too long after the fact, and we wanted to get to it quicker. So we're going to take a break next week. There won't be any podcast. It worked out because I'm out of town. So we're just giving the rest of the guys the week off, and we'll come back for episode 149 on the 16th and episode 150 on the 23rd.
So I've got a question, Jeremiah.
Yes.
Now that we've actually delayed 150, do we get the death threats now? That's how this works, right? We get death threats.
People care enough to give death threats about that, or?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, no, we did announce a date. Maybe that's the difference.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, I know what the difference is. Yeah, our fans are cool.
Time for our first death threats. Everyone watch the inbox.
But yeah, that's going to be happening on June 23rd. So as always, we record the podcast live, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/casualshenanigans. We encourage you to come out and hang out with all the awesome community members in chat. And if you can't do that, you can check us out on iTunes, on YouTube, on Stitcher, on Google Play Podcasts, and all those other places, Mondays at roughly 9 a.m., unless I publish it on Sunday evenings or publish it later on Monday mornings. But pretty much Monday morning, you can listen to the podcast on all those other services. And as always, all the important links about the podcast are in the descriptions of each episode. So, this week, we'll start the show like we always do with what are you playing this week? Dave, what's that computer behind you? This has nothing to do with what we just started. I just noticed there's another one behind you. Is that your work computer?
Yeah, that's the remnants of my work computer. It's really hard to tell how stupidly large this case is, but I've got a big phone, right?
Well, it's a black phone you're holding over a dark case. Light the screen up. Light the screen up. Yeah, pretty big case. For anybody watching the audio version, imagine a standard ATX case, then add about another 6 inches in length onto it. It's about the same height as normal, but it's very, very long.
Yeah, like the motherboard has probably 6 to 7 inches of space for the hard drive cages for no reason.
Is it a Digital Storm?
Velocity Micro, actually.
Velocity Micro, okay.
Yeah, and the case is falling apart too. It's got a dead 580 GTX, 580. It's got an i7-930 in it. Actually, 8 gigs of RAM. No, 16. 16 gigs of RAM.
Is any of that working?
Yes. The RAM's only a year old. I'm going to be getting rid of the RAM. If anybody wants 16 gigs of
How about that CPU? That's dead, isn't it? Or the motherboard's dead?
No, CPU and motherboard work great. The graphics card is dead. The 580 is like dead.
Wait, what are they again?
Oh, gotcha.
Go spec again?
It's a 930?
i7-930, EVGA motherboard, 16 gigs of Kingston DDR3, I believe.
Might that want to do some service as a driving simulator rig?
What?
A computer to run the driving simulator. Unless you have plans. Sorry, if you have plans, disregard everything I said.
If you want to buy it off me, that's fine. I don't care.
I mean, how much do you don't care price-wise?
Let's talk after.
All right. No. Let's barter about this live on the show.
I'm already a little bit salty because Edgar's like, how much you want for that 980 Ti? I'm like, well, they're going for like 450 to 480 on eBay, which is dumb to be fair. I'm like, 400. He's like, no, never. 1070s are so good and so cheap. I'm like, well, yeah, but you asked. Like, I'm not gonna just sell it less. It's like I pay 300. Like, no. Like, if dummies on eBay want to buy it, I'll sell it on eBay. There's a weird feeding frenzy over the TIs right now. I'm not
because
sure
everybody
why.
wants a 1080, and then if they can't get it, they're looking at TIs for like $150 cheaper and going, well, I'm playing at 1080p or 1440p. Like, what's the difference? Might as well.
Yeah, I think it's still a fantastic card. I think like 400 to 425 is it's not an amazing price. It's a fair price.
The feeding frenzy is a little bit ridiculous. It's like, oh man,
yeah,
but it's now the second fastest card in the world. Wah.
Yeah. Oh no. Which is weird because it just came out last July. It's less than a year old.
Yeah, that's normal. But anyway, Dave, what have you been playing this week?
Fallout 4 up until Monday around 7 p.m. Rocket League a little bit last week with the usual CSG crew. And a lot of the Witcher 3 expansion pack, which I'm not going to talk much about this week because we're going to talk about it more in the future. Kind of let it settle some. But it's, they did it again. It's incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I guess what I'm most impressed by is every single side quest so far feels like the quality of all the other side quests was already good, but it feels like they've kicked it up a notch. I started a quick side quest like an hour before the podcast, and it was still going like at 7:53. I was like, please get to a stopping point so I can save, and I finally did. And I was able to quit out of it. Have you played the mission in the bank?
Yes, I love that.
Amazing. It's not a spoiler. We can talk about this one. You go to a bank because you like have a small account there, and you're just going to cash it out. Someone tells you like, I've got an account in your name over there. So you go there, and they're like, oh, okay. Well, since you were declared dead, and that's not a spoiler either, that happens before any of the Witcher games take place. Since you were declared dead, Geralt, you need to give us this form, like bringing you back to life. He's like, oh, okay. Where do I get form 38? Well, from window number 1. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, I can do that. So he goes over to window number 1, and they're like, oh, well, you can't get form 38 here. You can try it upstairs, or you need a form 202 down here. He's like, well, where do I get the form 202? Well, try upstairs. He goes upstairs. Do you have form 202? You don't. Well, you got to get that from window 1. And it's just like a satire on the whole ridiculous DMV.
Yes, it's the DMV quest, but like totally in the world of The Witcher. And I'm recording like a kind of let's play walkthrough of the game, right, Jeremiah? I'm like, I'm in there. I'm in like 20 minutes into this quest, right, James? Like it has been going on forever. Like it's the actual DMV experience. And at one point, Geralt is told like everyone's on break now, so he has to like go wait in the waiting room of the bank, and all the dwarves are like standing around with their swords, like guarding the bank. And Geralt just goes and like sits on a bench, real sad like. And there's a guy next to him, who, like looks at Geralt. Geralt looks at him. They look forward again, and the camera is just like slowly panning. The angle changes. It's like a 30-second series of camera angles, like just total silence. There's the echoing bank. You hear like all the bank employees in the back enjoying their break. No one's doing any work. Everyone's just waiting. I'm like, okay, where's this quest going? Like this has been 20 minutes of the DMV experience. And then the guy next to me, he does this move. He just looks sidelong at Geralt. He goes, "You play Gwent?" I was like, "Yes!" And then we played around.
Gwent in this game is like a bad porn plot. It's like absolutely nothing relevant's going on. And someone's like, "But do you play Gwent?" And you're like,
"It's amazing." They've actually added...
And that's kind of how it makes Dave feel, too.
The amount of Gwent quests that they have written into the game is so good. Because like Jeremiah said, like it's shoehorned in, but in like a funny way every time. I went to this new armorer in the city. He's like, I have the finest armor in all the land. All of it handcrafted through my 30 years of experience. And it had a Gwent option in the dialogue tree. I hit it, and Geralt goes, "That's great and all, but do you play Gwent?" Like he has his actual line, like that's great and all, but do you play Gwent? It's so good. It's just the Gwent quest. Like holy crap.
I am we don't have to talk about much, but I really like Toussaint. I think it's a beautiful expansion area. I really like all the additional art assets and everything they put in all the work on. I think just so far, they're absolutely knocking it out of the park with this, which I guess we'll get into more when we talk about it in depth. We do a review, but it's awesome. James, where are you at in The Witcher 3?
I'm just restarting it actually on the PC.
Nice.
Oh, did you start it on PS4
I played it on
originally?
PS4. I think I'm gonna trade in that copy
Okay.
and just start from the beginning.
Okay.
You
cool.
have your
PC, just
970
because-
now.
Yeah, just because it looks so much better and it's running at 60.
Makes
It's just
a difference.
it makes such a difference. And anti-aliasing. It's just I've become so spoiled with it.
It's so sad you have to say I've become so spoiled by anti-aliasing. Oh, we've inspired somebody. It says Justin's now playing Witcher 3, just popped up on Steam. Go get him, boy. Get him.
I mean, watch the podcast too. But okay.
So where are you at in The Witcher 3? Like you said, just restarted it. Like you still.
I just
White Orchard?
restarted. I'm about to go fight the Griffin. Like
Cool.
I'm literally
Okay.
just restarting.
Cool. Well, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on it in future weeks. Now that like it's so far removed from the game's launch, and we've kind of moved past that launch area, and we've talked about it ad nauseum. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts, kind of starting it again now, because Debbie and John have both gotten into the game in the past couple of weeks. Like John, just the other night, had finally hit the point where he likes the game now. He's still not crazy about the combat, but he is enjoying the story.
It takes a little bit to
and
really
everything's
get
happening.
into the. Once you get past the initial mission,
Yeah.
then you're kind of like left to do whatever.
Oh, it definitely takes a while. I think the whole White Orchard thing is really as long as it takes most people to start getting into it. I feel like most people, by the time they got to the Red Baron, were either into it or not. Like, you know, if you like the game by that point. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting. This many people are getting into the game now. Even like a year after launch, with me and Dave and Joel having talked about it for so much for like a year. I think it's just cool that more people are giving
That's
it a
probably
chance.
why I didn't play it.
I wouldn't
Because
blame
you guys talked about it so much, like, ugh, I don't want to play right now.
That's right. What have you been playing, James?
I did actually launch that this week. That's why I started over.
Mm-hmm.
Played 7 more hours of Just Cause 2. I mean, 3, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It runs really well now.
It
I think you
does.
should. I think you should give it a try. If you have
Sorry.
Just
I was
Cause
thinking
3.
2 again. Okay, no, Just Cause 3.
Give Just
You think it
Cause
runs
3
well?
again. I mean, it stayed at 60 almost the entire time. It dipped every once in a while, but it's not nearly as laggy or buggy as even half as that as I saw on the PS4. But yeah, I'm having a ton of fun. I let my son play for like 30 minutes yesterday, just like in a cleared town, so he could just zip around on the zip line and use the wingsuit and stuff, and he loved it.
Cool.
Nice.
To the point where he went and drew pictures of it afterwards.
Oh,
That's
cool.
what kids do when they get excited about something. They go and immediately draw it.
Yep, that was me as a kid.
What else
A lot
did I
of
play?
Godzilla and train drawings out there somewhere.
Lots of Godzilla and trains. Both sides of the spectrum.
Oh, Dave.
Now, was Godzilla ever fighting the trains, or would that be like sacrilegious? The trains must be protected. The trains are sacred.
The trains are helping Godzilla, Jeremiah.
Oh, all right. So anyway, James, playing anything else?
A little bit of Risen 3.
Is that any good?
Well, you know, everybody has their crappy game that they like.
Wait, I didn't know there was a Risen 3. I knew there was a Risen 2. They made a third one?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It didn't have the charm that the second one did. Not that it had that much charm either. Let's see. I tried launching Kane and Lynch, and that just would not run for some reason.
I remember that being a pretty poorly optimized game back in the day.
2 ran perfectly fine, and that's, I mean, being a newer game, you would think. I don't know. And, you know, a couple other little games here and there, but that's mostly it.
Cool.
Oh, I played a little bit of Dead Rising 3, which is stupid fun. We should try it sometime.
Is it Dead Rising 3? It's co-op, right?
Yeah.
And full PC support?
Well, I'm playing it on the Xbox One.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming it has full PC support too.
Okay. I've been playing Homefront: The Revolution. I got it for the Potato Masher review. It is not very good. I've only played it on PS4 so far, and the frame rate is most definitely low 20s for the entire first hour. Like
Really?
And there's not much motion blur, so like when you turn, it's noticeably choppy. Like you can watch the chop moving across the screen. It's very pretty. That's part of its problem. Is there's good anti-aliasing. There's decently high resolution shadows. There's pretty decent anti-aliasing. It looks like they actually took a medium PC port and just moved it straight over. And the problem is the PS4 just can't keep up with it. And there's also like 1.5 second pauses every time it autosaves where the screen completely freezes and you think the game's crashed. Past that, it's just not very well designed. There's been several times in the first mission or two where I like lose the person I'm supposed to be following. It's one of those standard like tutorial missions, and they'll wander off into the dark or something, and I have to wander around the map until I hear their voice somewhere near me and go back over to them. And then enemies are also like super stupid. Like one of them was shooting at me hiding behind a parking barrier, and I just walked towards him while I was healing myself and, you know, stabbing the thing into my arm to heal myself. And then I reloaded my gun, and he keeps popping over and shooting me. And I got within like 2 feet of him and then just leaned over and popped him in the head. And I think he hit me like once. I mean, it was just pitiful. But yeah, I'll keep playing it. But unfortunately, it seems like most of what people are saying about the game is true, and I wouldn't really recommend anyone buy it. But if you haven't bought Doom yet, buy Doom. I've been playing more Doom, and it's awesome. I dropped my resolution to 1080p since I'm slumming it on a 970 right now. And
970 SSC.
Yeah, sure. So I've dropped my resolution to 1080p, pretty max settings, and the 8x TSAA, and it's pretty good. Like I got over the resolution thing pretty quick once I got into it, and the game is still fun. I'm now getting into a pretty hard section. There was one spot, I think on Saturday, where I had to replay the section at least 10 times, and it was this thing where these 2 Hell Knights come after you. Well, one Hell Knight comes after you, and you have to kill him while fighting all the little minions and stuff in the room. And then when you kill all them, a couple more minions show up, but 2 Hell Knights show up. And at this point, you're probably running low on ammunition. So I'm having to bounce around the room like bunny hop from thing to thing. And you can only stop long enough to like shoot somebody in the head once or twice and then keep running. And it took me a very long time to beat that once I figured out a strategy. But it's hard, but it's very, very rewarding. And I like how stupid fast that game is. So
I look forward to trying it. That's reminds me so much of like the shooters I played.
Yeah, I don't think there's any
ago.
way you're not going to love it if you liked old school shooters. It's just everything about it is great. And it's a lot more polished than a lot of those old school shooters were. Like it's got pretty good level design and stuff.
Remember that time we played Quake Live online?
Once, yes.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun. It was fun once.
It was fun once.
I've been playing Blood and Wine as well. I've been playing...
You guys forgot the Division.
Oh yeah, we played some Division the other night. Just played like 1 or 2 side missions, or like 3 or 4 side missions. You know, we don't really play the Dark Zone, so we can't really speak to all the patch and update problems everybody complains about. But the core game, the core single player / co-op experience is running pretty good, and we're still poking our way through it. It's weird though, because we hit this hole we're at now. I wonder, are we supposed to grind to get up to level 26 to do the last couple missions? Because it did seem like every time you finish a main story mission, there is a mission right after it that's maybe like your level or 1 or 2 levels above it. But now there's like a 5-level gap. So we've got to grind until we can play this next mission because we tried it and we died like immediately. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that. But it's still fun. We're poking our way through it.
In hindsight, was it as good as you thought it was going to be?
Hard to say because I don't think we've played it as much as we wanted to.
Yeah, for sure.
So like if we'd gotten into the community and everything, I think we probably would enjoy it more. Like I still enjoy it when I play it. I still think it's a good game. I've got about 25, 26 hours into it. But I'm not into it like I was into DayZ. But part of that might be there's so many good games I want to play that I just don't have time to be into that many different games. But I think it's good. I think it's just about as good as I thought it was going to be after the betas.
Exactly what I was going to say. After the beta, I kind of knew what to expect. And kind of like you, Jeremiah, I've said it before, I'll probably keep saying it. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of the combat system, but I knew what to expect. And it's still fun.
Yeah, it's good.
So,
I also played a little Ark Survival Evolved. We now have a I guess it's kind of like a community server. If you're interested in playing with us, it's a PvE server. You can hop onto our Teamspeak one night and say hi, but we're hosting that now on the Smasher. And hopped into that the other night, and people were teaching me how to play. I kind of wish I'd tried the game earlier, because within 5 minutes, I was riding a tamed pterodactyl around, like in a flotilla of like 2 pterodactyls and then a giant bird. And I was like, this is pretty awesome. There's like dinosaurs running around. I was like, can I ride a velociraptor? And Amy was like, yes, you can. And 10 minutes later, I was riding on one of their pet velociraptors. I was like, this is a pretty cool game. But it feels a lot like Minecraft, but it's very polished. Well, the parts I've tried are very polished. Like, it didn't seem to be super buggy. The UI needs some help. The UI is awful. It's like white text with a black stroke with a white glow around it, and just all arranged like just in rows of key bindings and graphics options. So that part kind of sucks, but you know, it's still like an alpha. So
Dave, I forgot another game you played. You played DayZ.
I don't know want to say that I played it. I ran around for 15 minutes and was very impressed, but I don't see the coolest moment, James, was coming up the new hill at Electro. It was like a whole new church complex, and like not like I knew which hill I was on, but like nothing was familiar because all the buildings had changed. Seeing all the atmospheric haze and all on the new renderer, looking across the city at between 45 and 60 FPS, and hearing like a couple random gunshots just like out there somewhere like in the fog in the city, and I was like, okay, this is exciting. Like this is.
So that's why you logged out.
No,
You heard the gunshots.
I actually
Good.
looted
See
for a
ya.
few more minutes because I wanted to get a handle on the looting, which is very well balanced. I had 2 empty guns, a backpack, some food, some medical supplies, and like 7 different melee options in about 12 or 13 minutes, which was pretty cool.
cool.
As soon as I hit stable, I'm ready to go back.
And I think Arc, just to cap off that, I'll try out DayZ with you when it hits stable, that update. But to cap off Arc, like I think it still suffers from a lot of the problems that a lot of open world games do, namely like a lack of focus on a lot of things. But I think it's a really cool sandbox, and I'm more interested in playing more of that than I am most of the other open world survival games that are out there. Like it is unique enough in a way that I'm interested in playing. So thank you to Justin from Dollarwise Gamers and Amy for getting that, like helping me out, and Jeff as well. And Tyler, I guess I can't really thank Tyler. He mostly just ran around playing with Dankosaurus, which is his. Oh, Tyler. James closed his eyes and shook his head. That is the grown-up disapproval. No, it's an awesome name. Keep it. All right, so for our main topic tonight, since the last podcast, GTX 1070 review embargoes have lifted. And at Computex, AMD dropped the surprise announcement of the Radeon RX 480. So we want to talk about these two cards. Everybody knows about the GTX 1080 now. That's old news. Dave has ordered one. It's in the mail.
It's not in the mail
yet. It's not in the mail, but he's ordered one.
Don't do that to me. I'm sad.
Dave. Oh, no, actually, while we get into the topic of graphics cards and Computex, Dave, you were trying SLI again.
Yes.
So you and I have been very down on the past couple iterations of SLI. You're now SLIing with up until a week ago, the 2 best cards on the market. So how do you feel about it right now?
Better than the experience last year, but still not a fantastic experience. I think there's some power draw issues with my power supply. I think I'm hitting the top ceiling of that. But I also got at least one blue screen from tabbing in and out of a game.
How could you? Tabbing?
SLI and tabbing just does not work. And as usual, like, if you can deal with those issues, like if you don't tab out a lot, like you don't run multiple programs, like you just play games, SLI is great for just raw frame rates. And frame timings are actually even better than they were last year. But to get to this point, I think it was Tuesday. It was like my first full day with both cards. I had the drivers from early February, and I had FPS issues in Witcher, frame timing issues, and then in the Division as well. Updated my graphics drivers, and everything worked fantastic. So like for SLI, you have to like ride the driver train. You have to be on the new release every single time, it feels like.
You live and die by those game-ready drivers, and that's kind of a problem for me because game-ready doesn't really mean anything anymore. Like, I don't know, game-ready drivers seems to be like, there's a 1 in 3 chance this will make things better, a 1 in 3 chance it's going to break something major, and a 1 in 3 chance you don't notice any differences. And
It's one of those things that, again, like if you just want raw frame rate, SLI can work. Like you can make it work. It's not, I don't think it's as bad as it was last year, but if you're doing stuff like we do, like where I depend on Shadowplay not crashing, because I use it constantly, I tab in and out of stuff constantly, I'm constantly running multiple programs, I might be live streaming, or if you need to play your games in any kind of window and not just full screen, SLI is not for you. And I just don't think I'm going back anytime soon.
But Jeremiah, that was a look of pride when he said the power thing. Said
what do you mean?
You just had this look of like, I know I'm right. I told you I was right. You didn't.
Well, no, it's not like that at all. Dave has been frustrated plenty of times in the past because, like, he's had to back overclocks down quite a few times. I feel like more than anyone else I know, you've set an overclock and then over time it doesn't work out and you have small stability issues and you end up backing yours down more than the average person. You also
for the GPU or
GPU and CPU. I just feel like you've had to do more tweaking to maintain super long-term stability with a lot of your overclock, and you've ended up at slightly lower speeds. And I've always thought that was a little bit weird. And I can't say like it's that you don't know what you're doing or something, like you know how to overclock. I thought maybe he's just doing it too fast. Well, no, like you're pretty slow and methodical about it. Well, no, but I mean like you're like, you know what you're doing. And I found it odd that like you could spend an hour getting an overclock to fail that I would just like luck through in 5 minutes of guessing and it would be decently stable. And for anyone listening, maybe we'll go into more detail on it on the next tech podcast, but we think it might be because Dave has a super powerful, was it 850 or 750?
850 watt
thermal take power supply from 2009?
2008, early 2008.
Early 2008.
It was like $280 at the time. It was insane.
And it's super powerful. It's an awesome power supply, but it has a lot of 12 volt rails. It has 4 rails, and any one of those rails is not powerful enough to run 2 of these cards, or even technically 1 of these cards. All of the rails together are, but what the next hurdle we want to find out is if Dave's able to find out how those rails are split up amongst the PCI Express connectors. There's a chance he's been slightly overloading the 12 volt rail for like years now. And because it's a good power supply, it's handling it. But maybe it can't handle the additional power draw. Think about it. The TDP of a 980 Ti is 250 watts. And probably was the same for a GTX 480 as well.
And overclocked, it gets worse for sure.
Yeah. So like, it's no surprise that might push your power consumption, at least on a few of the rails, to kind of dangerous levels, or not dangerous, but not stable levels. So hopefully that's not really the case long term.
Yeah, and the multiple rails thing, like, man, in 2008, if your power supply was quad SLI certified, which this one was, like, that was the badge of honor. Like, if you have like 1 rail per card, ooh. But that's no longer anything that I think almost anyone cares about.
Yeah. Obviously not. NVIDIA's only supporting 2-card SLI unless you jump through a couple extra hoops on the 1080s. So they
let's talk about that for a second. There's still triple and quad SLI, but you have to like subscribe to like some sort of newsletter program to get access to it.
I feel like the people running Tri or Quad SLI are already subscribed to that newsletter.
I feel like
who has 2-card SLI puts up with those issues is like, you know what I want? Another 25% performance for $600 more.
Not 25% anymore. That's one thing that SLI can do. If you're cranking out raw frames, the GPU usage for 2 cards has been 98, 99%. I imagine with 3 cards.
When you add a 3rd and a 4th card,
like 60, 70%.
Almost no games can use Quad SLI correctly. Almost
right. But Tri SLI. Do they use it for other applications?
No, not really. If you're running a Tri or Quad SLI, if you want to run like a CUDA card for PhysX or a PhysX card or something, it has to be run separately. It can't also be used for your graphics processing. It's just there to do the other job. So, yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is if you're one of those people where like you're thinking about a 3rd or 4th card, it's people who are already dealing with those weird SLI issues and they're like, might as well just add more frames to this. Like, I'm already dealing with the problems. Why not just get more power?
I mean, I can see why people, if you were going to spend $7 or $8 on a computer, I could see why they'd want to just have the best of the best of the best. But I don't understand it.
I just feel like you sign up for that program now for the new gen, and after like a few weeks, NVIDIA sends you like a nice envelope in the mail, and it just like says like no inside. It's just like a self-help program They just tell you it's not worth it.
So, new graphics cards. We know all about the GTX 1080. Everybody knows about that. But the 1070 review embargo is lifted, and it is faster than the 980 Ti in basically everything.
Jeremiah, don't tell them that. I'm trying to sell mine.
About faster, I mean, it's like 3 or 4% faster. Like, it's just barely faster, but it is faster than the 980 Ti in pretty much everything. And it comes with 8 gigs of DDR5, or GDDR5. So, in that case, that's pretty awesome. Also, it has a TDP of only 150 watts. So the TDP of a 970, the performance of a 980 Ti coming in at $380 MSRP. Probably most partner cards are going to be $400. I'm just taking a guess. That's a very convenient price point to be sitting at.
That's definitely higher than the 970's launch point, isn't it?
Yeah, the 970 launched at $330 for the Founders Edition.
Yeah, these price jumps for NVIDIA are making me kind of nervous. I mean, I think this generation, it's justified for sure. We're seeing, for the 1080, like the 20 to 25% leap over previous gen. But what happens if we just get a 15% boost next time and the same price increase? I don't know. Makes me nervous.
Well, I mean, it's bound to happen, but... So the GTX 1070 compared to the 970, the card that it is ostensibly replacing. It has 1,920 CUDA cores. Interestingly, the GTX 1080 has 2,560 CUDA cores. So, and I believe, like, there's rumors that the 1080 Ti will have 3,840 CUDA cores. Like, it seems to be matching resolutions very interestingly there. I don't know if that's some internal joke, but it has 1,920 CUDA cores to the 970's 1664. The core clock is at 1,500 megahertz, 1,506 specifically, compared to 1,050. The boost clock is 1,683 megahertz compared to 1,178. And now on most 970s, you can get an overclock. You can get it up to about 1,400 boost, maybe 1,500, depending on the card. A lot of reviewers were able to get their 1070s up to about 2,000 megahertz boost. So about the same amount being added on to the overclock there. About slightly less percentage-wise of an overclock, but about the same number of megahertz being added. Where the GTX 970 had 4 gigs of GDDR5, the 1070 has 8. And they both have a 256-bit memory bus, but the 1070 is on a smaller 16-nanometer process. And as we said before, it is about as fast as a 980 Ti, maybe a tiny bit faster. So what do you guys think about this card?
I think for the time being, they're both really impressive. The 1080 and the 1070.
Mm-hmm.
If expensive.
I have my hopes up.
For what, the 1060?
No. For what AMD does next.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that when we get
to that in a minute, but yeah.
Yeah.
With this and with the next AMD card, like, all I can say for sure is there's never been a better time to stick to 1080p. Because all of these new cards so far will be absolute beasts at 1080p. But so yeah, that's the 1070. And then announced at Computex, this kind of leaked a couple hours early and people started freaking out. AMD has decided not to do what NVIDIA is doing, where you start at the top end of the market and then work your way down when you're announcing new cards. NVIDIA presumably does that so they get the big flagship card. And then you have the smaller iteration versions of the cards that people are less excited about but still think they're cool for the money. But you get like the big old flagship out there first. Well, AMD has said in the past they don't think they can compete with NVIDIA or Intel in the upper ends of the market. And honestly, they can't really compete with them in the upper ends of the market most of the time. But AMD has always been bang for your buck.
Oh, yeah.
Intel doesn't even sell a quad core for like less than $150. And with AMD, you can get an octo core. So depending on your needs, AMD really serves the lower end of the market well. And they announced the RX 480. Instead of R9 480, we're going to RX.
It's confusing enough.
Yeah.
Now another 480 on the market.
But the RX 480 comes with either 4 or 8 gigabytes of GDDR5, depending on how much you pay for it. It is also a 150 watt TDP, 1 6-pin power connector.
That's crazy.
But what is most interesting about it is it's supposed to slot in between the GTX 970 and the 980 in performance, and it's going to start at $200.
Yeah, it is.
$200, which is awesome. AMD said they want to make like a great entry-level VR-ready card. And between the 970 and 980, that's right at the lower end.
That's a great entry level.
Yeah, that's a great entry level for $200. That's awesome. To be fair, you could always get a R9 290, which is another great entry level card. You can get those for like 180 to 200. And GTX 970s are going to be dropping in price, so they'll end up around 200. But for a brand new card at 200
but
or
that
200,
TDP makes it worth not going to the 290.
yes, it does. And being able to get 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 if you bump up to what's $230, that's pretty amazing. Now, compared to the 390X, which is their previous top of the line card that wasn't the Fury or the R9 Nano or the Fury X, the RX 480 has 2300 stream processors, or 2304, compared to the 390X's 2816. It has more than 5 teraflops of processing power compared to the R9 380's 3.5 and the R9 390's 5.1 and the 390X's 5.9. It doesn't really matter what the boost clock is at. They're all pretty much the same. It only has a 256 memory bus compared to the 390X's 512-bit, but if the overall performance is the same, who cares? Because the memory clock is 8 gigabit per second, and the 390X's was only 5 gigabit per second. It comes with 4 or 8 gigabytes of RAM. 150 watt TDP compared to the 390X's 275 watt TDP. So almost half the supposed power consumption. And that's partly because they've switched to a 14 nanometer production process compared to 28 nanometer. And instead of launching, the 390X launched this time last year for $430, this will be launching like within the next couple weeks for $200. I
mean, I think that's probably going to be our go-to card for budget builds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if the 970 stuff drops in price, it still doesn't have as much VRAM, and you'll be buying them used, or you'll be buying up lost stock and stuff, so they'll probably end up going back up in price too. And around the $200 price point, I looked online because I was curious. You can get a GTX 780, which is slower. And this is used. You can get a GTX 780, which is slower. You can get an R9 290, which will be slower. You can
and hotter.
And hotter. Yeah, all of these are slower and hotter. You can get a GTX 960 new, which is quite a bit slower, much slower. You could get. That's really about it. Like that's all you can get in that price range. You can get a R9 380 for more, and that's nowhere close to as fast, or a bit slower. And you could get a 280, which is quite a bit slower, for like $180 or 280 or 280X. Yeah, 280X for like $180. So, like, this really is the best option. Vova asks in chat, does AMD have a Shadow Play alternative? They do. They have. It used to be called the AMD like just game recorder or game DVR. So they may have changed the name because they changed it at least once. When I used it the first time, it didn't work that well. When we tried it again, like a year later, it worked pretty well, but I was already using NVIDIA as my main card, so I haven't gone back to it. But people seem to be using it and enjoying it. But James, you just upgraded to a 970, so you're not planning like an upgrade anytime soon. I wish we could talk to somebody planning an upgrade, because I feel like I
would consider an upgrade to a 1070.
Really?
Yeah. I think there's enough of a boost there to do it.
At 1080p, do you think it would be worth it? Like, do you suffer at all at 1080p with a 970?
I'm always suffering. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for a long time, the 970 was our go-to recommendation for just straight up 1080p. Just be able to crank things at high, very high, and have an enjoyable frame rate. So I think you're at a good place with your 970, James.
Mm-hmm.
You're happy with it. It's still a great card.
Yeah, the RX 480 I think is probably going to be the easiest recommendation, unless the driver support totally gets borked or something. But AMD doesn't normally support titles as quickly as NVIDIA does, but their driver updates tend to be more stable, and they offer bigger bumps in performance. Like, they'll put out a driver that gives 15 to 20% performance bumps for cards that came out 2 years ago and like a handful of new games. Like they're pretty good about that. But hey, Shane, if you want to upgrade your 980 to a 980 Ti, I might sell you mine for cheap.
No, I texted him first. I got into the chat first.
Except
He's
for
mine.
Mailing it all the way to England. Do you want to do that?
Oh, never mind.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Cheap bastard. But what this gets me excited for is two things. I'm excited for them to announce more cards. Because if they can perform this well with the $200 card, when they get in their $300 range, $350 range, I think we'll see something probably more competitive for the price. I mean, they announced some other stuff at the event. They announced their Zen processor, kind of, and they announced their APUs. The other thing that gets me excited about is now that they have such smaller chipsets on it, what they're going to be able to do for consoles coming up this round. And
sorry, go ahead.
It's hard to speculate before E3 comes, so I'll try not to speculate that much, but if they could find a way to get their APUs more powerful or to find a way to do a different way of doing modular upgrades, I think AMD could do pretty well in the future.
So I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast yet, but the reason it looks like, based on a lot of credible rumors, the reason both console manufacturers are considering or probably have already finalized plans for their updated versions of their consoles is not because they care about you so much and they just decided they need to upgrade.
Oh,
Which they may, they can turn a bad thing into a good situation for them. But it looks like because AMD has been switching to this 14 nanometer production process, they went to Sony and Microsoft and said, hey, we're switching to 14 nanometer. It's like we can sell you a bunch of 28 nanometer or whatever, but it's going to be cheaper and faster if we just sell you these new 14 nanometer updated APUs. And I'm sure Microsoft and Sony looked at it and went, oh, well, so if we can like do a couple small tweaks, sell a revised version of the console, it can be faster and cheaper. Okay, like let's look at figuring out what needs to happen with that. Vova in chat, I've heard a rumor that the GPU in the 4K Neo is really similar to the RX 480. I would not believe that for a second.
That sounds a little unsubstantiated.
That sounds like people heard about the RX 480 and that got super excited and started drawing lines that don't exist. The PS4's chip is very similar to like a $70 APU, one of AMD's Jaguar APUs, similar in performance. So they wouldn't jump from a consumer price of $70 chip to a $200 chip. I'm sure they would not do that unless AMD was cutting them a crazy deal. And I don't think that would be in AMD's best interest to do that because they could sell them for a lot more. I would be very, very surprised if that happens because that would not be a 25% performance boost. That would be well over double. An RX 480 would be well over double a PS4's power, and I don't think there's any way that's going to happen. But anyway.
Well, what's funny, though, is the Xbox rumors. Like, the initial rumor said it was like 4 times powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really suspicious. But I don't think it'd be that hard for them to make a larger quality jump with that.
Yeah. But, as with everything, until E3 happens and people actually announce stuff, and until the consoles actually release, nothing is faster. Nothing's faster. Nothing's better than it was before. Don't get excited. There's absolutely no way any revised version of these consoles are going to live up to people's wild, crazy rumors that are flying around. There's absolutely no way.
Now, how much of a size difference do you think you'd get for cooling and motherboard size if you had a smaller APU?
Smaller? Oh, motherboard size I don't think would really change much because it's already pretty small. I mean, it's like laptop sized. But cooling, I don't think they would shrink their cooling. I think they could probably just run it a little bit faster because it would be running cooler already. So they'd probably keep the same cooling.
The rumor is that the Xbox is doing a complete redo next year. Not like Xbox 2 necessarily, but like actual better hardware. And then doing a slimmer version for this year. So I'm curious what in their technology has changed to be able to slim it down. If they're using the smaller APUs.
Oh, James, you froze up.
You're freezing up a little bit for me.
Yeah, Skype's freaking out.
It's okay. Oh, sorry, say that last sentence again.
I was asking if do you think that they would possibly using like a, not necessarily the more powerful APUs, but just basically something on par with what they have now, just smaller?
I think it'll be smaller and a little bit cooler so they can clock it a little bit higher. And because of the smaller production process, it will naturally yield, not naturally, it's designed, but like just as a function of it being newer and a smaller production process and everything, it will naturally be a little bit faster and potentially cooler so it can be clocked a little bit higher. As far as the Xbox One, I don't think it's so big because of the APU, because it's got a slower version of the APU than the PS4, and it's like double the size. I'm actually going to look up a teardown at the Xbox One, because it's been bothering me.
If you cut out some of the features, though, you cut down the extra HDMI.
But what features weigh so much, though? That's what I don't understand. Okay, so I'm looking on iFixit. You take off the bottom of the Xbox One, and there is a metal tray that looks like it holds just about everything. It's like a case. You open up the case. Okay, big old heatsink. This is like a PC heatsink. And a PC-sized DVD burner. 2.5-inch hard drive. The RF module. So that could be removed, probably. If that's only for TV purposes, I think. That could probably be removed. Big old heatsink. It looks like a PC heatsink. It doesn't look like a laptop one, which is what the PS4 uses. So it's a Jaguar 8-core
Probably kill
CPU.
the Kinect port if they wanted to.
Is there a separate board for the Kinect?
There's a separate port. I don't know about I don't know what's on the actual board.
It looks like it's one big motherboard, kind of like a PC. It looks very, very similar to a PC.
But if they're looking to get it smaller, they need to get rid of some features.
Yeah. If they're going with a cooler and more power efficient processor and GPU, they could probably make the cooling smaller, which looks like it's the single heaviest bit is the metal case and
that's
the
a big
cooling.
Freaking cooler.
Yeah, it is a really big cooler, which is weird because I feel super hot air coming out the top of the Xbox One, but it's quiet. The PS4 gets very, very loud at times, and the Xbox One's pretty quiet, so maybe they kind of wanted to keep it more living room friendly, and that's why they did it. But I'm excited to kind of see what happens, but I'm not holding my breath for any of it yet. Anything else you guys want to talk about Computex, or do you want to move on?
I had a couple other things that
Sure.
that were talked about. Let me pull them up. I can find them in my tabs. I got a Dave problem right now. Apparently, Microsoft made a kind of a prediction that by 2020, that they're going to have as many as 80 million mixed reality devices. Which I don't know what that means.
They mean
I
Microsoft.
guess.
They say Microsoft will have 80 million mixed reality devices in people's hands.
Well, it says expects most of them to be third party, but they're.
Gotcha.
I'm assuming they're looking to be kind of the catalyst for all that. You know. I mean, HoloLens being super expensive, obviously is what it is, but the thing driving at Windows holographic is apparently partnering with HTC. So we'll see where that goes.
So partnering with HTC sounds like what, a cut down version of the Vive, or Vive support on the Xbox One?
It could be that. It could be. I think I really like augmented reality even more so than just
Plain virtual reality. Yeah.
Again, I've never been as blown away as that demo.
That HoloLens demo was one of the coolest.
That's probably
things
one of
I've
the
ever
single
seen.
most exciting E3 demonstrations I've seen.
Yeah.
And so if they can bring that to consumers, I'm ready.
Well, you think once VR technology matures, you would hope that you could get to the point where your augmented reality glasses and your VR glasses are one and the same. It can just selectively filter out parts of the screen for augmented reality or the entire screen for virtual reality. Like, I'm assuming the final production version of the HoloLens, or maybe a couple generations down the road, would be a VR glasses set that could also do augmented reality. I would hope that would make the most sense. I don't want to own two
it's a shame that
different
Google
ones.
Glasses didn't ever get any traction. I mean, it was
Slightly
darn
ahead of their time,
expensive.
maybe.
Yeah, the great idea, just not ready to go to prime time.
Yeah.
But one of the things they mentioned, this is Microsoft revealed that it would be opening up the mixed reality platform that drives HoloLens, known as Windows Holographic Partners, including HTC. That may leave some to wonder whether they'll ever get their hands on augmented reality devices that tap into the HoloLens hype. According to Microsoft, they're months away, not years. So, I guess they've been working on it a lot more than we think.
All right. Anything else from Computex?
Not for me.
I don't think.
Okay. It is now time for the news.
Hold on. I can't sing when I'm time coding.
News time. Dun, 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 dun. Oh. I retract my newsreel intro.
All right. First news item. Take-Two's CEO, Take-Two, the publishers of Grand Theft Auto Online, Strauss Zelnick has revealed that Grand Theft Auto Online was never supposed to be a permanent entity, and constant updates to the game's online game mode will stop at some point. He said, "We do expect GTA Online's results to moderate because October will be 3 years since we released it. Not only was it not our intention that GTA Online was permanent..."
3 years. The 3 years, it didn't really count 2 of those years.
Because it wasn't
It
on
only-
PC?
Yeah, it only counts now.
No, tons of people were playing it. But they
I
say,
agree with James.
it's important that it not be permanent. We have to rest the franchise at some point, which doesn't mean stop the franchise. It means they have to stop working on GTA Online so they can work on future Grand Theft Auto things, which is good.
But if it goes the route of, say, Red Dead Redemption, it'll be just completely full of hackers and unplayable at that point.
Well, yeah. But
I mean,
yeah.
it's pretty much common sense that they would say that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not something you want to hear. You secretly want to hear, you know what? We're just going to support it forever.
Yeah.
You and your
Well,
friends can play. We'll just keep it up because we love you.
And it was specific. These comments were only about GTA Online. So people have been talking about there possibly being new story mode DLC or something. And there's lots of rumors, but not much has actually been confirmed. Although they say big presence at E3 this year, so you never know what they might show off. But they did just drop the Finance and Felony update for GTA Online. And it now has criminal enterprises, which there were aspects of this before, but it sounds like they've really rounded it out. You can create your own criminal faction. Before, you were just like a corporation, but you can now create a criminal faction, appoint a CEO, and even acquire a high-end headquarters for planning and such. But I don't know what are we going to be planning? Like, are there going to be unique missions? Don't really know.
How many garages can you have?
But there's going to be new cars, new features, new all kinds of stuff like they always do. They say it's one of the biggest and deepest updates yet. It launches June 7. Hopefully, they're aiming towards a June 7 release date. So they didn't announce enough for it to be one of their biggest updates yet. So I'm not really sure. Maybe we'll find out more information as we go along. But yeah, so they're definitely not abandoning the game, but they did say, I think it's smart to start talking about it, that at some point the game has to wind down so they can work on other things, or wind down official support, which I'm totally in favor of. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I feel like they're maybe going to stop with the updates that have actual content this year, and then we'll see like maybe 2 more years of the servers being, online supported. I don't see it going away anytime, like even in the future. Like, I think the server's going to be online for quite a while.
I mean, I'm starting to feel like it's time to start winding it down. Like, the group is playing it less and less. It's not bad. I mean, it's still a fun game. We still hop in and play like with each other on, every 2 weeks or something. So it's still fun to hop in and hang out, but I feel like we've seen most of the content. We've done most everything there is to do. So it's still fun, but rather than just continuously adding new content, like, I think I'm okay with saying I've gotten several hundred hours of enjoyment out of this. If you guys want to move on and work on the next Grand Theft Auto thing, go for it. Because I think this is the best Grand Theft Auto game there ever has been. And
Yes.
you old school people, yes, I've played most of them up till now. I didn't play 1 and 2, but I've played everything else except for the PSP Grand Theft Autos. And I think 5 and online are definitely the best ones. So I think they need to go away and start working on something new, but it'll suck when they eventually stop officially supporting it. But the game is still good. The game is still awesome. There's hundreds of hours of content if you want to have fun doing it. So I don't think people enjoying the game is going away anytime soon, but I wouldn't want Rockstar to be pigeonholed by having to completely support it and work on it forever, you know?
Because who likes making money nonstop?
Well, they've been making billions of dollars, but I mean, they're such a talented studio. It would be like expecting
Like Valve.
Yeah. It'd be like expecting Naughty Dog to keep supporting Uncharted 4's online multiplayer for 2 years. It's like, I'm sure they can do a good job of doing that, but like, it's Naughty Dog. You know, whatever their next thing is going to be great. So let them get to the next thing so we can see that too, you know? They don't have to constantly be iterating and improving upon the thing that's out now if they've got ideas for cool, bigger, and better stuff. That's my opinion.
I would source that out, honestly, at a certain point.
Online support?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, if it's going to continue to build or generate revenue, why not?
Yeah.
Until you release the next game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably likely.
Also, before we move into the next news item, this is a rumor.
Okay.
But someone posted screenshots of Liberty City running on the GTA 5 engine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means if it's future DLC or if it's just, people just
They call
like
it the,
to make stuff
the,
in other engines.
the coast-to-coast update. So you have, California and Liberty City, California and New York together. That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be
Yeah.
kind of awesome.
But I mean, that would be a monstrous DLC. That almost seems like that would be like a non-numbered game, like Vice City. It kind of seems like, or was Vice City? That was 3 though. No, that wasn't 3. That was Vice City. It was like a non-numbered sequel.
Yeah.
It almost seems like they would need to make it Grand Theft Auto 5 : Liberty City or something. But
I'd be okay with that.
yeah, I would too. Dave, what's your news item?
It's a weird one. I actually chose it because it confused me a lot. I want to see what you guys thought. I saw this title, Dreamcast 2 fan project shuts down. But then I read the article. It's over on segabits.com. So here's what I gathered. There was a huge fan project to create the Dreamcast 2, like organize a group, raise money, design, develop, and create a new Dreamcast console, and then sell it to Sega and make it official. Like, from reading the article, like that was the goal. And it's wild because I can't help but just wonder why.
I don't think the thing standing between there being another Sega console was not that Sega can't make a console.
Yeah.
Was that nobody bought the last several of their consoles. They kept getting bought less and less, and then they decided it was more worth it to just sell games.
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of fan movements, fan projects, fan movies, all kinds of stuff like that. But this is the first time I think I've seen a fan console. Like, they were developing the Dreamcast 2. They had a team. They had UI concepts.
They had petitions on change.org, which is how you know you're dealing with a team that has...
You know you've arrived.
They had online petitions, but yeah, it's one of those things. I really don't understand what the final goal was. I mean, I hope they weren't really thinking that they could just make a copyrighted console sequel on their own and then just get permission to sell it, or they're trying to get Sega to adopt it, or...
Well, I mean, if it just played the games, if they didn't try to market it as Dreamcast 2, it'd be fine.
Yeah,
we have all those Retron consoles that play
They were
old
definitely
games.
marketing it as Dreamcast 2. Like, all their artwork is Dreamcast 2, Sega logos on it.
I think the easier part is getting hardware together. Not that it's easy, but the easier part would be getting hardware together. Who's going to support it? Like, you're going to give it to Sega and be like, oh, okay, we did the hard bit.
Yeah. Hard bits.
I like the message they left on their website and Facebook group. The project has been taken offline. This is due to a schism within the team caused by inefficient and amateurish conduct, resulting in members being removed and others leaving the team. In light of such unprofessional behavior and an embarrassing lack of progress, Seasoned members of the gaming industry have chosen to distance themselves from this project. I too am stepping away from Project Dream.
Because they were all over it before.
Please note
the immaturity started.
Please note the Twitter account is no longer associated with this group. So what this says to me is a bunch of kids, teenagers,
too much time on their hands,
and young adults got together and decided that we need to make a console like the good old days before these new consoles ruined everything. And we're going to make it the Dreamcast too. And then over time, it turns out, since it's not a good concept, they probably didn't have great leadership, and it's a very hard thing to get off the ground. How many hundreds of people do you think Sony has working on R&D on a console? And a small group of people like seriously thought they were going to R&D an entire gaming console. I'm not making fun of them. If they love the Dreamcast and they want to keep its spirit alive, good for you guys. But like, let's be realistic. This was never going to work.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. Like, I think this is a really cool, fun thing to work on. But what amazed me was like how they were setting it up like it was going to be a proposal that was submitted to Sega. But yeah, the paragraph you read too, Jeremiah, that was my favorite part. Is I'm reading the first few paragraphs of this article, trying to figure out just what the point is, and then I get to that, I'm like, oh well, it doesn't matter anyway. Like it all fell apart. Oh well. I don't know. It was just a very unusual story that caught my attention this week. A fan-made console concept for a fan-made console.
All right, James, what's your item?
Nintendo has announced their E3 schedule, and as already pretty much announced, we're going to see Zelda footage. And news is that the playable demo is about 90 minutes long, which is a really good sized demo.
Wow.
But I have a feeling that there's a lot of empty space to run in to get to the area, maybe. Mm-hmm. And then Zelda games can be long and not really actually be that big. The only other thing that they announced was they're going to show some Pokemon footage, I guess, from their Pokemon Go, and then for the upcoming the Wii U.
Pokemon Global Offensive.
Yeah.
Interesting. They're not calling it Nintendo Direct, which they've only done Nintendo Directs for a few years, right? That name has now been replaced by Treehouse Live. Remove the brand's name from the title. That will make it easier.
Well, that and just make it seem even more kiddish.
The Legend of Zelda Wii U will be the only playable game at Nintendo's booth this year. They say it's because they want to keep the focus on Zelda. I think it's because they aren't working on anything else.
Oh, what is happening over there? I just wish I could understand.
All right. So, James, do you want to do the shame segments?
Sure.
I normally do them, but I feel like you've got enough righteous anger about this that you should do it.
Let me find the first statement.
Well, this is the Singularity Shame segment. This is a part of the podcast where we highlight something that needs to be knocked down a peg, or something stupid that's happened, or somebody who just needs a little bit of a reality check. And we don't do this to hurt them, but just for a light public shaming.
So, EA's CFO went on record to say that when they were thinking about making Battlefield 1, that they were worried that people weren't going to know what World War II, Vietnam, or even World War I were, like the younger gamers. Like as if somehow, like, music goes away and you kind of forget about musical artists, as if global wars are just not taught in school anymore. I mean,
I kind of see what they're saying, because I was surprised how much I didn't know about World War I before this year. I think for a lot of people, I think it's ridiculous. So I should know more about history than the average person. I probably do. I probably do. I was better read than the average high schooler, just because I like doing it. But World War II, I think everybody knows plenty about. Like World War II, I don't think there's as many secrets about. There's a lot of untold stories of World War II, but I think everybody has a pretty good grasp on generally what the war was. World War I think for a lot of people, especially younger people who haven't extensively studied it or been taught about it yet, probably bleeds a lot into World War I because the names are similar, and you would probably assume, okay, Germany was one of the antagonists in World War I, fighting in a lot of the same countries, a lot of the same players involved. You would assume a lot of it's the same, when in reality the wars were totally different. and the reasons were totally different, and the countries that were involved were totally different countries than the countries who got involved in World War II. Like they changed so much because of World War I. So I don't think he's wrong. Like he said, that people don't understand about World War I is the technology shift. People started the war on horseback and ended the war with airplanes and tanks and battleships and submarines.
Yes,
and they
submarines in World War I blows my mind that you went from horseback to like guided torpedoes with submarines. Like that's insane. But 5 years, that's mind blowing.
So I can kind of see what they're saying. I think the parts about Vietnam and World War II are kind of ridiculous. I bet you most, at least American high school students, don't know much about Vietnam, but.
Yeah, but you know enough about it to play the game. I mean,
yeah.
I think that's giving education a little bit of a kick in the pants that it doesn't deserve. Yeah. I mean, kids do learn about this in social studies, civics classes.
How much do people really learn about World War I though? Because I feel like most of what's taught in like American history revolves around World War II, because that shaped us as a country. I mean, I think World War I was very significant for us as a country, but as far as easy to point to things for how they shaped the rest of the 20th century, World War II is a lot easier to point fingers at. And I feel like World War II is taught a lot more about. I'd be curious to hear from high schoolers and recent graduates. What are you guys being taught today about World War I? About World War I specifically? Like, what do you guys know about it? What are you being taught about it? Because maybe this guy did a lot of focus testing and the CFO was right on track.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that, like, saying World War I, World War II, or Vietnam, I think people know what those wars were. Whether or not they know a lot of the intricate history of, like, World War I think people are aware that we had World War I, II, and Vietnam.
So here's my thing for World War I. I consider myself a fan of history. I really enjoy history, and I knew the basics of World War I, but recently, both me and Jeremiah have listened to Dan Carlin's Blueprints for Armageddon World War I podcast. It's a total of like, what would you say, 6 episodes, like 3 or 4 hours an episode. It's a good sized podcast. And what I discovered is, even as someone who, like I said, I consider myself a fan of history, I knew the whats and whens of the main points of World War I, but I really didn't understand the whys and the hows and the like behind the scenes and what changed and why it changed. I just knew like dates and main events and countries involved and stuff like that. Like, kind of peeling back those surface layers, there's just an incredible amount of information that we're still learning about. And I'm actually now re-listening to a few of Dan Carlin's World War I podcast again, because I really feel like one listen through was not enough to even get this new layer of information. There's so much that changed in that short period of time. So, and even an off the cuff comment of, well, kids these days just don't understand it. I'm like, I can kind of agree with that, because I thought I knew, and I kind of did, but really didn't understand the war.
But let's be honest.
Yeah.
Who plays Battlefield because they understand the war taking place? Who plays Call of Duty because it's relatable?
But that's what the marketing team wants, though, is they want relatable. They want headline grabbing, I mean, they see it on the news and they play it on their
Far
computer.
Cry Primal, none of us grew up in that period, and that, seemed to be a game that worked.
James?
Shut your face.
I think couldn't the
You look closer to...
Couldn't the problem be that people think they know about World War I, but they don't know as much as they think they do, so they think it could be problematic because people will think that the game is taking unnecessary liberties or is getting a lot of things wrong, when in reality, they don't know that people were actually like charging tanks on horseback,
Yeah.
I don't think those are the people that are going to care.
Probably not.
If they're the ones that don't know, they're not going to care either.
Probably not.
Seeing a biplane was enough for me to be sold, hoping that the game does well. Just being honest. I don't know. I think it gives it, number one, it doesn't give education enough credit, but also it gives gamers carrying ability too much credit. I mean, I don't need to know about Genghis Khan to play a game, about, the ancient East. I just don't care. And if I can get immersed in the story that they present me, that's all I need. I'm not Dave. I don't need to know all the lore. I mean, we don't have a real Geralt in real life, and that seemed to work.
You shut your face. Geralt is real.
Atomic bombs didn't wipe out the entire country. Fallout seems to work.
But so we can argue about this shame segment. The next one, everybody gets to come together and just pile on. So James, what's the next one?
Pile.
So weirdly, okay, so the main dude from No Man's
Jason?
Sky.
Oh, sorry. No, this was a journalist from Kotaku.
Yeah, this is another one. So
okay, sorry.
So these are tying together.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about No Man's Sky being delayed.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, what's his name? Jason? What?
Jason Schreier from Kotaku.
I don't know. What's the guy's name from No Man's Sky?
Oh, Sean Murray, director.
Sean Murray has been getting death threats from fans because the game was pushed back. And it wasn't pushed back like a year. It was pushed back like a few months.
And Jason Schreier from Kotaku's gotten death threats because he reported it 2 days before the developers confirmed it. Before Sean Murray confirmed it, Jason Schreier wrote an article about it. And because he just reported something that he said was going to happen, at that point it was still a rumor, he got death threats.
I was telling Joel about this, and this is my favorite line, because this guy...
You're really excited about death threats.
Because it's so ridiculous. The smugness of the kind of people that were sending them is what got me. I was telling Joel about this, because the Kotaku author quotes a couple of these Reddit commenters in particular that personally messaged him, and even the messages that weren't death threats were just so over the top. Like, he reported 2 days early on the delay through a internal source at GameStop, right? Like a management source that said, "Hey, I've been told to expect like an actual delay coming up." So he listed anonymous GameStop source as his source, and someone on Reddit called 30 GameStops, like at the front desk, asking, "Is there a delay for No Man's Sky?" And then posted this super smug comment. "Well, he has one source at GameStop. I have 30. There's no delay." It's just like this is the ultimate Reddit
30 minimum
smug
wage
dude.
employees said whatever they knew to get you off the phone. Congratulations.
I was like, congratulations, you wasted your own and 30 other people's time, and it means nothing. Like, just the smugness of that.
People started a petition to like overwhelm and swamp GameStop with calls to force an update to be made. Like, if we call them and yell at them enough, they'll tell us something.
GameStop?
Like, GameStop isn't good. GameStop corporate is not passing this information along to the brick and mortar stores. Like, they'll pass it along after it gets publicly announced, but they're not.
Yeah, they have this thing called press releases that they give out when it's time to release it. And before then, they get maybe heads up. That's it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Here's a great tweet that Jason Schreier got. "I'll find out where you live and murder you and your family." And this guy sent a DM. "Your little article about No Man's Sky being delayed has made me hate you to my very core. It's the only thing I live for. And you go and write that BS about a delay. Now, as much as you might want to shame them, that's kind of just shaming themselves. Like, if you've admitted that this is the only thing you care about and it means that much to you."
I mean, what can I say to shame them at that point? What can I say that's worse?
Someone reporting something. Not delaying the game, just telling you, "I have found out there will be one." If that ruins your day that much, why? Why?
I mean, even given the developer, though, death threats, it's just...
Yeah.
It's disgusting behavior.
I gotta censor myself here. It's a freaking game.
Yeah.
It almost just popped out. It's a game.
I was telling Joel yesterday, like, The Witcher 3 was one of my most anticipated games in forever. It was delayed large amounts of time twice. Like, I think like 8 months and then like 5 months again. I was never angry about that. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's kind of sucks that it's not out yet, but it'll probably be a good thing in the end." And you know what, guys? I survived. The Witcher 3 is the best game I've ever played, but I made it to release day despite 2 delays. I'm really proud of myself for having a life. I don't understand that level of obsession. I mean, you guys know me in The Witcher 3, and if I can survive that, I can't process that perspective.
I mean, maybe their future's riding on being in space exploration and never having to go out in the real world again. I mean, maybe this is their escape from life. They're just waiting to escape.
I really like this top comment on the guy who posted a No Man's Sky subreddit saying he'd called 30 GameStops and there's no delay. The top comment is, I just phoned my nearest KFC in England. The manager there knew nothing about the delay.
Wow. Oh, internet. Stop. Just stop.
Dave, can we please read part of that comment you got? Please. It is my favorite comment. I've gotten a lot of troll comments recently, and this is one of the best things I've heard in months.
All right, let me see. Do you still have it?
We're bringing back the segment, Dave's comment of the week, where Dave reaches deep into the turd bucket that's the YouTube comment section. Now,
Do we have mail tonight?
Yes, we do. Now that he has 10 times the subscribers he did when we used to do this segment, you know he's getting the good comments.
I'm looking at the comment here.
You know which part I want to hear. Read as much as you need to, but you know what I want.
I let me set it up first. In November, I posted a video called "Why The Witcher 3 is the best game that I've ever played." It's not clickbait. It's actually It's actually my actual opinion, and
it's also it's an opinion. It's an opinion, which is something that one person thinks.
Yeah,
that's not necessarily objectively right or wrong, but it's what they think about it, and they're sharing it. Continue, just in case anyone wasn't sure before we go farther.
In the very beginning of the video, like the title is called, because it's a title, "Why It's the Best Game I've Ever Played." In the first sentence of the video, I say, "Why, in my opinion, this is the best game I've ever played," because that's not the title. I can kind of expound on that a bit. But I mean, most of it is more of like just an emotional, subjective appeal. Like, I read all the books, I'm invested in the characters, I love the combat, I love the world, I love anything with lore and immersiveness anyway. So I'm like, this is just the perfect storm for me personally. There's been this one guy, and James, he reminds me of the people before Fallout 3 came out. They were like, it's not isometric and turn-based, it's not Fallout. Like, Fallout 3 wasn't perfect, but man, the bitterness from the old school true RPG gamers. And this guy is a true RPG gamer. If you can't create your character and roll your stats, then it's not an RPG. And for the last week, I've watched this guy just trash everyone's comments on that video. Because that video gets like a lot of traffic, lots of comments, lots of interaction. Most people just very happy, like, yeah, I had the same experience. I love this. This is just a great game overall. I really appreciate this game. He was going through and just replying to people's happy, yeah, I agree with you, man. Thanks for the fun video. This is just a happy experience. Like, no, there was no character creation. I couldn't roll my stats, and their choices were not real. Like, he would reply to individual people all this week. So I've been looking for an excuse to ban him from the comment section, and I finally got it today. He's referring here to, of course, The Witcher 3. It was trashed on the Codex.
It wasn't. There was mixed opinions.
It was trashed on RPG Watch.
It wasn't. They really, really liked it. They said that in the second paragraph.
It was trashed by Mac of Worthaby.
I don't know. I didn't look it up.
I don't know who that is. It was trashed by virtually everyone with a functioning brain. I absolutely love the first two Witcher games. I've completed each one up to 10 times. The Witcher 3, I could barely finish twice.
That's the best comment.
CD Projekt Red shat on their fan base with this tedious Ubisoft-style garbage with absolutely painful writing. Play the first two. Those are great, great games. Leave Witcher 3 for the Explore Fag console gamers. And that's when I banned him from the comment section finally. I was like, there's the F word. Goodbye.
I was literally laughing at my desk when Dave said that to me. I hated it so much, I could barely finish it twice. It's like a 70-hour game. Usually when I hate a game, I don't finish it once. I get like an hour or two into it and then I give up. He played the game twice because he hated it.
I feel like that needs to be like the top of The Witcher 3's like Metacritic page. It's just like a title that just says, so good, even the haters have beaten it twice. It's just like, oh, just go back to your RPG hole, please. Oh.
Which I'll give him this. From a purely RPG perspective, there are more of those elements in The Witcher 1. But if you remember, the combat was super boring, and the animations were bad, and the voice acting was a lot worse. Like, the overall story was interesting, but from an overall gameplay perspective, I don't see how anyone can make the case The Witcher 3 is not miles ahead of either of those games. So, whatever.
Oh man,
It still wasn't technically an RPG by his standards. It might have more elements, but it wasn't
By the
like
definition of a role-playing game, it is a role-playing game.
well, no, but based on his definition.
I guess.
yeah,
Of being able to do
classic
stats
RPG.
and, you know.
Yeah.
In that case, shouldn't the Dungeon and Dragon, like the pen and paper people, be complaining that all video game RPGs aren't real RPGs?
Exactly.
I'm not sitting around a group of my friends doing it. It's not real.
There's not enough die.
There's no
in this
book.
game. I thought it was
Who's
funny
the
'cause
dungeon master, huh?
I get a lot of comments from people who just like The Witcher 3 wasn't their thing, and they're like, yeah, like I appreciate the graphics and like I enjoyed a bit of the story, but I just never really got into it. And then this guy just comes out of nowhere like, I am the decider of the true RPGs.
Everybody with a functioning brain.
Oh, thank you, Internet, for sharing your unrequested opinions.
It's now time for mail time.
Nobody's
Nobody's gonna sing mail time.
It's time for the mail.
All right. At first, we have Tyler wrote into casualshenanigans@gmail.com. Subject line, Maymays from Tyler.
No! Delete! Mark as spam!
I just wanted to let you meme peasants know that I, master of meme Tyler, look down upon you and your scrub-like ways. This is all spelled terribly. Now, while I could write a 14,000-word essay on how a meme's polarity and dankness can affect its possibility to discover sentient life on other planets and fund government projects. 1 second. Oh, you can't post that many characters. Hold on. 1 sec. I need to drop this in so everybody else can read it together.
Okay.
We're just gonna take a short little. Wow, that is a lot of characters I can't post. This is gonna take too long. Tyler,
Yeah,
why would you do this?
The comments on YouTube are super short for the live chat.
Why can I only? This is not long at all.
It's
Dave,
shorter than a tweet, I'm pretty sure.
Dave, can you log into the email and paste this sentence by sentence into chat?
Yes.
People want to read it. Okay. All right. Now, while I could write a 14,000-word essay on how a meme's polarity and dankness can affect its possibility to discover sentient life on other planets and fund government projects for odorless asshole projects, I will instead tell you how memes have helped fund the Pastafarian world. In the beginning, there was a noodle flying through the non-existent particle system that we call nothing. Then there was a big flash, and the master Pepe said, "Let there be marinara sauce," and then the sauce was everywhere. The noodle was no longer floating in nothing. Then forged from the fires of stale memes, there were common doges roaming the land, maybe? The noodle now had friends. Finally, on the last dank day, Pepe said, "Let there be a crazy dictator that we shall call the great master of meme." And then there was a Tylor. And then I said, well, these memes are dank, and these are stale, and now I'm here, sitting in the overlay, typing this long-ass email, waiting to just go back and play some modern horrorfare. Have a nice podcast. Hashtag make memes great again.
This is taking so long to chop up. The
Dave,
comments.
just send it to me. Or paste it in the document.
I'm working on it. Here we go.
No, just paste it in our mail time area.
I'm almost done now.
I'll take care
It's
of
happening. Pepe said.
All right, I'm gonna read the next bit of mail while we're waiting.
it. Put it in mail time for me, Dave, so I can make a document and share it.
All right.
Okay. Next bit of mail is from Quantum of Infinity again. He says, "Hi, hurdy-durdy here again."
I'm still regretting writing it in Patreon.
Damn it, Joel. After 2 weeks, I can't still get this song out of my head. Also, your impersonation of Polish people was 100% accurate. Even though my ears were bleeding, I assure you I enjoyed this song very much. Also, I've learned that Dave is a cruel person. It's the 31st of May when I write this. The Witcher DLC drops on GOG, but I can't play it yet. When I woke up, I just downloaded the DLC and then went to work. But there it is. Dave tweets about Witcher Blood and Wine DLC, reminding me how badly I want to play it. How cruel is that? Fortunately, I had the Witcher soundtrack on my phone so I could ease my pain. I even played the Witcher soundtrack for the whole day in my work, annoying everyone around. I am kidding. How can you annoy anyone with some Witcher tracks? At the end of the day, finally I can play Blood and Wine DLC. I have to say I give it a Dave out of 10. Someone on the internet said it right. Some companies release DLCs and call them full games, when other companies release a full game and call it DLC. To take my revenge on Dave for almost killing me from Witcher absence, you don't know how much you lose by not playing the Polish version. I can be fully immersed with a proper Slavic language in a Slavic game. The English version's like a 99% immersion, but Polish is full 100%. Just kidding, though. Or am I? Seriously, though, goodbye, world. I will now go back to my cave and play Witcher. Quantum of Infinity.
Okay, this is Dave's level of immersion in Infinity. For my intro, I did for my first Blood and Wine episode, I got the Polish version and the English version of the title track, the new Night to Remember theme, which is the theme for the DLC. And in the intro, it goes back and forth between Polish and English like seamlessly, and it sounds awesome. It fits so well. So I'm actually on board with you. If I could play the game on subtitles and enjoy just subtitles, I would do that. But I like to, actually like watch the faces when they're talking. So English it is. But for the intro music, a little bit of Polish. Dirty, dirty.
All right, and then Benjamin wrote into casualshenanigans@gmail.com, just like you can. It says, hey guys, before I start, I just want to say I'm a new listener who started after running into the Doom Potato Masher video. So he's a recent new listener. And so far, I love what you guys do. Keep it up. Thanks, Ben. Anyways, after building all sorts of budget towers for my family and friends for everything from a $400 Athlon X4 tower to a $750 i3, I've started looking at my own rig, wondering how much life it has left in it regarding gaming and content creation, especially since I'm coming out of film school and am looking to get into a job into video editing. Currently, my build is this. Intel i7-3770K, not overclocked, 32 gigs of G-Skill Ripjaws RAM, a 60 gig SSD for the OS, a 250 gig SSD for projects, a 2 terabyte Caviar Black for games and storage, a gigabyte R9 390 and R9 290 in Crossfire, which you can do, a EVGA Supernova 1000 watt 80 plus gold modular power supply. Side note, the 390-290 mix is due to a weird situation I was in with a previous budget build where the original card wasn't going to make it in time. I used that as an excuse to upgrade to a 390 for my 290, but it turns out that Amazon was just stupid. Since my wife was still fine with her card, I decided to have the 290 in my second slot for Crossfire. Anyway, for gaming, I stick to a 60Hz 1080p monitor and have no problem setting everything to max. However, aside from my own personal projects, I have no experience in how my rig will perform with editing. Is it a bit old for anything other than gaming, or does my rig have some life left in it with an editing workflow? Thank you guys. Sincerely, Benjamin.
What do you think, Dave? Quick rundown again.
3770K, not overclocked. 32 gigs of G-Skill Ripjaws RAM. 60 gig SSD, 250 gig SSD, 2 terabyte storage drive. R9 390 and R9 290 in Crossfire.
For editing?
For
Sounds
video
fine.
editing and gaming. He says it's doing fine for gaming, but he doesn't know about editing.
Editing should be fine too.
It should be fine. That's a hyper-threaded quad core, and the Ivy Bridge processors are still awesome. Overclock it though. If you haven't overclocked it, if you have a stock cooler, consider getting a Hyper 212 or possibly a one of the cheaper all-in-one coolers. I like Hyper 212s, but
He's gonna need a lot more storage though for video.
Yes, he probably will. And it's a great time to maybe upgrade that 60 gig SSD to like a 480 gig SSD, because those are like,
You can get them for like 100 and something.
110, 120 bucks.
Yeah.
But for 3770K, you should be able to overclock it to around 4.5 gigahertz. With the Ivy Bridge processors, the 3570K and the 3770K, there has not been one that I couldn't get to at least 4.2 gigahertz with 5 minutes of very minimal effort. And all of them but one, I have gotten to 4.5 absolutely stable. The one I haven't gotten to that is Debbie's, and that's just because I haven't spent that much time on it. I just gave it a nice mild overclock and then, just let her get back to gaming. She just needed a little extra boost in GTA 5. So for gaming, you probably get a little bit of a boost there.
And Shane mentioned in chat that he has that CPU and it's not even overclocked. And he does a lot of video stuff and gaming.
Ben, probably you don't need to overclock this processor. But I'm saying if you want to get some more gaming performance, there's a little bit more there. That's an easy to overclock processor. And as far as anything else, eventually you might sell both of those cards and move up to a single card solution when you feel like that's better for you. Because those two cards there, you're having at least 500 watts of TDP between those two cards, and you've got a power supply that can handle it. But for heat and noise, because I had a 290, I remember, for heat and noise, I'm sure you wouldn't mind stepping down to something a little milder at some point. Maybe it's a good time to step up to a 1080, but for 60 FPS, 1080p, that's still an amazing setup. And for video editing, I mean, Dave, you do the heaviest stuff, like with 3D work, and that relies on CUDA and just grunt processing power, right?
Hyper-threading and multiple cores is the key. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a hyper-threaded quad core, so.
Yeah.
What were you about to say about CUDA? Sorry.
I was going to say that the CUDA is not super important for offline rendering, but for video and real-time stuff, super important. So.
But you don't do much in Premiere, which Premiere will do Mercury playback with CUDA cores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's actually very beneficial.
It is. I get very fast Premiere renders compared to Vegas, but yeah, I wouldn't
naturally.
change anything. Well, yeah, but editing is way faster in Vegas because you don't have to jump through all the stupid hoops that Premiere has. So
I can teach you to be faster.
I was working on the Fallout Castle edit today, and I was looking at the timeline afterwards, and I'm like, Vegas is a mess for rendering, but I'm like, this edit would have taken forever. Anything else, like it's a little bit Frankenstein, but man, I can throw together a complicated edit quickly in Vegas.
Yeah.
We're going to have a workshop sometime. I'm going to see what your guys' workflow is and see if I can
panic, full on
show you how to do it differently in Premiere.
If you're really good with Premiere, I wouldn't mind a little update, because every time I watch a tutorial, I just keep thinking like, this is the most backwards way to do it. Because most stuff in Vegas is just like, here's the button, click it. Or you want to do a transition, just drag along the edge of the video clip and it just automatically does one. I feel like there's a lot of automatic stuff where it guesses, and for most regular things you're doing, it's the right thing that it's guessing, and then for anything else you can add it in. But anyway, we can talk about that later.
The one that I do think is interesting, granted nobody has Macs, the magnetic timeline in Final Cut's pretty interesting. Like,
what does that do?
It just keeps building on the timeline. So if you want to bring a clip in, you can either, like, if you can set something to stay at one place, but it doesn't put any gaps. If you know you're doing something that's going to be linear.
Okay.
Or if you know this is going to be 3 minutes long, I can put these clips in. We'll have to show you sometime. I'll show you next time I'm in town.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. That is mail time. As always, you can write into casualshenanigans@gmail.com to be part of the show. So as we wrap the podcast down tonight, reminders that you can always follow us online at Casual Shenanigans, at Evil Viking, at Dream Gaming, and Dave and I both have YouTube channels. You can watch the podcast live, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Thursday. You can find us on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Google Play Podcasts, on our YouTube channel, on our website, casualshenanigans.com. All that stuff, Monday mornings, new episodes go live, and you can watch them all there. And before we sign off this evening, do any of you guys have anything you want to talk about? Anything last minute?
I don't know about you guys, but it's been a good year for games so far, and
Yes.
the amount of like news, like exciting news in the horizon, is staggering. So
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about what we're doing for E3 week, really fast?
Yeah, so if you
Since
guys
we're not gonna talk
remember,
next week.
those of you who listened to us last week, or last year, those of you who listened to us last year might remember, we did small casual conversations after each major press conference, giving our quick thoughts on what we had just seen while the hype was still hot. And then we, of course, broke things down in more detail later in the podcast. We're going to do that again this year. Now, conferences, I feel like, are a little more broken up this year than they were last year, because some people are too cool for school and aren't doing actual conferences. Let me see.
Who are they kidding?
4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, the 12th, we have EA. 10 p.m. we have Bethesda. Nice 6-hour gap there. And then on Monday, we have Microsoft, PC, Ubisoft. Oh, I have Arma. No, that's plain Arma. There's not an Arma press conference. And then Sony at 9 p.m.
Whoa.
And then Nintendo at 12 p.m. on Tuesday. So we're going to be recording.
I'm most excited about the fact that the PC one is going to be shorter.
It's going to be in the
more
middle of the
interesting,
day.
and it's during the day.
Now,
Like,
is it running into the Ubisoft stream, or is it ending before Ubisoft?
I imagine they'll end before. I can't imagine they would
I
do
hope
something
not.
that stupid.
Yeah. But since it's technically a show, it's not a major press conference, so who knows? But we'll see.
And when we got No Man's Sky for PC last year, so it was kind of an announcement.
Yeah, we'll be recording and uploading these casual conversations. The audio quality won't be everything that you guys are normally used to. They'll be a little bit hastily produced as far as thumbnails and stuff, just because we'll get them up to you guys as quick as you can. So
we're all going to be around one mic talking.
Yeah, so if you can't watch the press conferences, or you just were able to watch it and you're curious to hear our thoughts and stuff, things will be going up as they happen, as soon as we record them and get them ready. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. And as a reminder, there is no podcast next week. Episode 149 is coming back on the 16th, and then episode 150 on the 23rd, and we have something special planned for you guys. Normally, we do lots of game giveaways and stuff, and we are not doing that this year. That's all I'll tell you right now. But if you can come out and watch the show live, we think you will enjoy it.
You may have a door prize, like Black Friday.
Before we end, we just wanted to mention one of our listeners wrote in, Forrest, and he is currently doing a Kickstarter. If you like old school radio dramas, like where we have different voice actors and sound effects and stuff, not really something that's done that much anymore, but they used to be a much bigger thing and whole families would listen to them. If you like those, he is running a Kickstarter for Scar Johnson Space Marine. And the Kickstarter is for $500. It's not very much, and it's to buy basically better equipment so he can finish it in the quality he wants. So we're going to link to that down below in the description. If you guys are interested in radio dramas and want to go check out something another Casual Shenanigans listener has been working on, see if you like it, see if you'd like to support him. The link is in the description. But for now,
that was one of the things I really enjoyed in Fallout 3. The little radio.
The radio stuff? Oh, yeah.
Did you listen to that, Dave?
No.
Oh, Dave.
Well, really, that wouldn't help with your immersion?
I mean, I feel like my immersion is like its own thing. It can live on its own.
It always is.
My immersion is like unstoppable.
Well, that's the truth. Okay. I see that Dave, instead of paying attention to the podcast, is putting Tub Geralt PNGs on top of
I'm
his
definitely not
and tweeting
pasting Tub Geralt everywhere right now.
All right. Anyway, that's our show. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you all. We will see you in 2 weeks' time to talk about everything awesome that has happened at E3 and to see if any of our predictions were right. My prediction is most of our predictions are absolutely not. But
yeah,
until next
I think
time,
I've already lost one mostly.
I don't even remember any of them, to be honest. I'll have to go back and look at the doc. I forget them as soon as I say them. But until next time, thank you guys and stay casual.